say you're sorry.
The International Labour Organization (ILO), established in 1919 through the Versailles Peace Treaty, plays a pivotal role as a UN specialized agency dedicated to advancing global social justice, human and labour rights. The ILO constitution, crafted in the aftermath of Versailles, laid the foundation for a unique tripartite organization, bringing together governments, employers, and workers. Functioning as a distinctive forum for 177 member states, the ILO fosters open discussion and the exchange of national policy through its tripartite structure. Notably, in Europe, social partners representing both management and labor engage in autonomous dialogue, cultivating collaborations and active participation in social dialogue processes. At the heart of the ILO impact is the annual International Labour Conference in Geneva, where global labour issues are scrutinized, policies are formulated, and the binding work programs and budgets are adopted, financed by member states. The ILO stands as a cornerstone in shaping a harmonious and accountable global labor landscape.
Thank you, Hidayah, for the backgrounds of ILO. Next, we will go for the objective of ILO. The first one is promote and realize standards and fundamental principles and right at work. The ILO is dedicated to promoting and realizing international labor standards, including fundamental principles and rights at work. This involves advocating for the adoption and implementations of conventions and recommendations that cover fundamental aspects of labor, such as the right to collective bargaining, freedom of associations, eliminations of forced labor, abolitions of child labor, and non-discriminations in employment. And the second one for objective of ILO is create greater opportunities for women and men to secure decent employment. The ILO aims to enhance opportunity for both women and men to obtain decent employment. This involves addressing issues like fair wage, safe working conditions, equal opportunities in the workplace, and eliminating discrimination based on gender or any other factors. The organization works toward creating inclusive and equitable labor market. The third objective of ILO is enhance the coverage and effectiveness of social protections. Social protection is a key element of the ILO's agenda. The organization seeks to expand the coverage and effectiveness of social protection systems worldwide. This includes advocating for policies and programs that ensure workers have access to essential social security measures such as health care and unemployment benefits and pension to safeguard their well-being and that of their family. And then the last objective of the International Labour Organization is strengthen tripartism and social dialogue. Tripartism refers to the collaborations and involvements of government, employers, and workers in decision-making process. The ILO works to strengthen this tripartite structure and promote social dialogue by facilitating constructive communications and negotiation among these stakeholders. The ILO aims to achieve consensus on labor-related issues, leading to effective and sustainable solutions. This approach fosters a sense of ownership and shared responsibility in addressing labor challenges.
So I will continue with the major tasks of ILO. For the first one is ILO is International Labour Standard. ILO Convention on Minimum Age set a global standard to ensure that children are not engaged in work that deprive them of their childhood. By promoting this standard, ILO works toward eradicating child labor and establish fair working conditions for young individuals worldwide. Second one is social dialogue. In a country facing labor dispute over working hours and conditions, ILO facilitates discussion between the governments, employers, and workers. Through this social dialogue, agreement can be reached to establish reasonable working hours, safe conditions, and fair wage, addressing the concern of all parties involved. The third one is research and policy. ILO conduct research on gender pay gaps and labor market dynamics. Based on research, it recommends policy to government to address disparities, such as implementing equal pay legislation and promoting workplace practice that ensure gender equality in remuneration. And then technical assistance. ILO provide technical assistance to align international standards. This may involve helping draft legislation, training government officials, and establish mechanisms to enforce and monitor compliance with the new labor policy. Next is the capacity building. ILO offer training program to improve the skill of workers in a specific industry. As an example, collaborate with a country's textile industry to enhance worker knowledge of sustainable practice, thus building the industry capacity to meet environmental and social standards. And lastly is to promotion of decent work. To advocate for decent work by supporting initiatives like fair trade certification, it is also involved ensuring fair wage, social protection, job security, and opportunities for personal development. By promoting decent work, ILO contribute to social justice and inclusive development, striving for better working conditions globally.
We move to the policy. In 1944, the International Labour Conference met in Philadelphia, USA, and adopted the Declaration of Philadelphia. This redefined the aims and purpose of the ILO by adopting the following principle. The first one is labor is not a commodity. Freedom of expression and of association are essential to sustain progress. Poverty anywhere constitutes a danger to prosperity everywhere. And lastly is all human beings, irrespective of race, creed, or sex, have the right to pursue both their material well-being and their spiritual development in conditions of freedom and dignity, of economic security, and of equal opportunity. The second policy is Declaration on Fundamental Principle and Right at Work. In 1998, the International Labour Conference adopted the Declaration on Fundamental Principle and Right at Work, which reaffirmed the commitment of the international community to respect, to promote, and to realize in good faith the right of workers and employers to freedom of association and the effective right to collective bargaining. Now we move to the program of ILO. The first one is number 29. Forced Labor Convention 1930 required the separation of forced or compulsory labor in all its forms. Certain exceptions are permitted, such as military service, properly supervised convict labor, and emergencies such as war, fires, earthquake, and more. The second one is number 105, which is Abolition of Forced Labor Convention 1957. Prohibits the use of any form of forced or compulsory labor as a means of political coercion or education, punishment for the expression of political or ideological views, and workforce mobilization, labor discipline, punishment for participation in strike or discrimination, which is not following the proper channel to raise voice. And the third one is number 87,
which is freedom of association and protection of the right to organize convention 1948, established the right of all workers and employers to form and joint organization of their own choosing without prior authorization, and laid down a series of guarantees for the free functioning of organization without interference by public authorities. The next one is number 98, which is Right to Organize and Collective Bargaining Convention 1949. This one is provided for protection against anti-union discrimination, as protection for workers and employers organization against acts of interference by each other as measure to promote collective bargaining. Next is number 100, which is Equal Remuneration Convention 1951, is for calls for equal pay and benefit for men and women for work of equal value. Next is number 111, which is Discrimination, Employment and Occupation of Convention 1958. This is for calls for national policy to eliminate discrimination in access to employment, training and working condition, which is race, color, sex, religion, political opinion, national extraction or social origin, and it's to promote equality of opportunity and treatment. Meanwhile, for number 138, which is Minimum Age Convention 1973, it's aimed to the abolition of child labor, stipulating the minimum age for admission to employment shall not be less than the age of completion of compulsory schooling. And lastly is number 182, which is Worst Form of Child Labor Convention 1999. It's for call for immediate and effective measure to secure the prohibition and elimination of the worst form of child labor, which includes slavery and similar practices, forced recruitment for use in armed conflict, prostitution, and pornography of any illicit activity. The work which is likely to harm the health, safety, and moral of the children.
The first case is about Muhammad Yusuf Abdul Hamid v. BTS Hotels in Den Berhad, where in this case the claimant employed as a Malay chef grade CC alleged constructive dismissal following the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the hotel's operations. The Industrial Court under Section 20 of the Industrial Relations Act 1967 required the claimant to prove a fundamental breach of the employment contract. Despite the challenging circumstances, the court concluded that the claimant failed to establish on the balance of probabilities that the employer breached the contract or intended not to be bound by it. Consequently, the court determined that the claimant had resigned voluntarily, dismissing the action for constructive dismissal. This case highlights the complexities faced by both employees and employers during the pandemic and underscores the importance of meeting specific criteria for claims of constructive dismissal under industrial relations law. Last but not least, in the case of Lim Eng Hua v. Colism Cafe and Hotel KL Den Berhad, a reference under Section 20 in bracket 3 of the Industrial Relations Act 1967 was met. The key issues before the court involved determining the justification for the retrenchment, assessing the truth of the employer's grounds for retrenchment related to the impact of the MCO and COVID-19 pandemic on business, and examining whether the retrenchment order was motivated by bad faith or a desire to victimize the claimant. Upon evaluating the evidence from both parties and considering the principle outlined in the case, the court, in accordance with Section 30 in bracket 5 of the Industrial Relations Act 1967, dismissed the claimant's case, emphasizing the application of equity, good conscience, and substantial merit without regard to technicalities and legal form.
No uniform, breaking hearts, no keys.